Good evening, everyone. This is Ceren İskit, and you are watching What's New, What's News. Yes, in Turkey's agenda now, recently we are talking about the Instagram blackout. It took 9 days actually after the killing of Haniye, and it was decided from our ministry actually, and it was kind of a censorship for Türkiye, for all the users. So we will discuss this issue, and we will discuss this beyond actually, how will this go, and what will happen next actually. So let me invite Ahmet Alpan Sabancı. He is a writer, journalist, and an activist. So let me invite him. Welcome, Mr. Sabancı. How are you?
Fine, thanks for asking.
Thanks for joining me today. Actually, it's a pleasure to have you. Well, let's begin with the Instagram blackout. Well, we know the reason is coming through after the negotiations between Instagram and the Turkish government. However, it was kind of a decision of a censorship actually. Well, we evaluated that at least. So how did it come from? Why do you think that this reason decided by the government?
So the thing is, both on the government side and from the Meta corporation side, there was a total silence about the reasons, what they were discussing, what was the problem, and we still don't know. Like, there was an announcement made from the ministry about what they decided on and why they are going to lift the ban on Instagram because they decided on X, Y, and Z. But the thing is that Instagram was already doing all of that. The Meta was already doing everything they said in the declaration, and they were actually doing more. We know from the Meta's yearly transparency report, and also we know from the law that regulates the online platforms and internet in Turkey that Meta is one of the best platforms that actually obeying the law, applying the law. So they were already doing everything and some more actually. So it was a totally confusing situation for everyone who has been following all of the platforms and how it was regulated in Turkey for a long time, because the excuse was not really the excuse wasn't making so much sense. Because like the things they are saying, like they are saying that some content was not removed, but we don't have a court order about the action they are taking. We don't know which content they are talking about and whether now they are removed or not. So it's a total mystery. We don't know what they discussed in that final meeting. We don't know what they decided on. So like, it's basically, at least from outside, it seems like there was something that Turkish government was asking from Meta, from Instagram or Facebook or all of the platforms they own, but they weren't able to get that. So now they use this ban as an excuse to get what they were asking for.
Maybe we can discuss about a little bit what was actually behind the scenes, because I think this is important. During that time, yes, it was by the time was when Haniye was killed in Iran, but at the same time, it was about the stray dogs and the organizations, how they organized by Instagram that time, because they were doing some live broadcasting. They were kind of maybe taking an attention, maybe raising an awareness. What's the situation in Turkey now? How the bill has passed in the parliament, etc. So do you believe that maybe because they were so disturbed by those kind of organizations happened, and all the protests and demonstrations, of course. Do you believe that maybe the main reason was that kind of elements that they decided to black out the Instagram?
So I will answer it in two parts. So for the Haniye and the Palestinian content situation, I don't think like it's actually bothered the government or any government official, because that's something Meta has been doing for more than a decade. Like we all know, the international civil society already knows about that and has been protesting about that for decades. So this is not something new, and this is not something that's like happened in the last couple months or so. So I am not actually believing that this was their main disturbance or this was their main issue, because they already knew about that for a really long time. For the second part, I kind of believe that that might be some part of it, because like we know that it used to be Twitter where the most of the political discourse happened, and most of the opposition politics has actually happened or gained steam. But since Elon Musk bought it, and since Twitter changed most of their algorithmic adjustments, or how they are working with other governments and things like that, Twitter has become completely useless. Twitter doesn't bring any value to the public discourse, and actually takes away most of the important stuff and brings more hate, more anger, and it's actually working better for anyone who is on the more right side of the politics. So this actually leaves Instagram as in a strange place, because no one has thought Instagram as something more than people who have fun, or influencers sell products, or everyone is like just posting the most lightest type of content or the posts they are making. But Instagram is also changing with those type of dynamics, because after the Twitter's practical death, like most of the Turkey didn't move to Mastodon or Blue Sky. Threads has been blocked in Turkey because of the regulatory issues. So that left Instagram as a sole place that's with millions of users, and you can share anything. So this is actually might be not specifically about the current events, but this might be part of taking some precautions, because I'm sure that they are also aware that this, after all that happened in Twitter and rest of the social media platforms, are not able to can't be replacing that. So Instagram is going to become even more powerful, even more important, and that's why I think that they also name dropped TikTok a couple of times. TikTok is also up and coming, and especially with the younger generation, it's much more actively used. So the TikTok and Instagram is probably become even more central to our political discourse or social discourse in the coming months, because of the current landscape of the social media.
Well, I was about to ask you what will happen next, but you answered it already. But we have a question coming from genel izleyici, and he or she is saying that, is Turkey becoming totalitarian? What do you think about that?
Well, we are already halfway there, so there's no denying that our current political system is basically relies on the one who's been elected to president, and he has way too much power. And if you add all of the legal deregulation, like basically even the constitutional court can't force anyone to obey to the constitution. and all that other. When you look at and as solitary examples, they might not seem like many of the stuff, like the single laws or some of the events may not seem like too much, but when you look at as a whole, like we are already living in a practically totalitarian or something that can be named in a new way, because when you say totalitarian in the political sciences perspective, like there is some strict definition on that, but there is some hybrid model going on with the Turkey. So we have the most of the practically totalitarian situation, but at the same time we have most of the how can you say, like on the surface it looks like democratic. You still have the open market, so you have the neoliberal side of the things. But when you come to the practice, you have most of the things going in a really totalitarian sense.
Well, definitely, but at the same time, of course, all the users in Turkey now has a reflection, like using VPNs, finding alternative way, using those platforms as well, social media platforms. But according to the Information and the Technology Association, the institution, they are actually now banning those big, VPN companies, and trying to find out those kind of ways of not communicating, maybe because this is kind of a new communication way of the youth, especially. So when you see this general perspective, the biggest picture, what will happen soon for us?
So the thing is, no matter like how much you try to control the internet or try to make sure that you are as closed as possible, there's always another way. Like there will be different tools, different websites, different platforms, different methods to overcome the censorship. So one thing I like about the internet as a technology is that it's practically designed on making you travel as many different ways as you want. Like you are not limited to one single way to reach a route you want to go online. So there's always some other ways will be developed, or some other ways will be found out. So the thing is, like they can try to find and ban all of the websites of the most major VPN service providers, but there will be always new actors. Like there will be new VPN services. They will. Some of them are actually, those VPN providers are many very activist minded, so they can figure out ways to make sure countries which their websites are banned still can reach to them and use their services. So this has been done so many times. We have so many different examples. Like you can only look at China and see how inefficient it is. Like we all talk about the Great Firewall of China and how so many platforms are not available and are either banned or controlled. But if you want, you can still use VPN there. Like there is not a silver bullet to censor everything and make sure no one else is able to connect everyone. Because that situation, I don't think like there is going to be some total disconnection or total censorship to make sure no one is finding out anything else. But the thing they are trying to do is actually just pleasing a certain audience, like saying that, look, this website disrespected us or disrespected our values and we did this, and yet anyone else can still connect to that website if they want. This is so funny that when Erdogan was prime minister, we had YouTube banned for quite some time, and he himself actually said that I am using VPN to connect to YouTube. You should do that too.
Well,
So
I
like
have an
even he
example.
knows that
Yeah.
it's not like technically possible.
Yeah, I have an example. You don't need to go back far, far away because it happened last Friday. He sent a greeting for the Friday prayer on Instagram and then had to delete it afterwards because he banned. I mean, basically, the government banned the Instagrams, and then ironically, I would say that
Mhm.
they send a greeting from Erdogan's official Instagram account, and then they had to delete it because of the decision. So, well, it is
And
it is
it
ironic.
actually shows that like how they are not uh, acting with a like bigger plan or something bigger going on behind the scenes. Like basically someone inside that decided they are going to start a fight with Instagram, and most of the other government institutions didn't even know that. So if they were already planning something like that, they will be probably removing those automatic posts earlier in the week. So we also know that like those kinds of things, people are like making jokes online and things like that, but it also shows that they are not actually working with some bigger plan or major uh, goal
Mhm.
on their like horizon. Like they are just most of the time they are just reacting based on what they are feeling or what they are uh, assuming what's going on.
Mhm, mhm. Well, on the other hand, of course, this has a freedom of speech. This is a huge human rights violation and also a freedom of speech violation as well, as we have an example of it. One individual got arrested recently after her thoughts about the Instagram. She was quite harsh for the government as well, but first of all, they detained her, and now she is in a pre-detention process, which is a little bit heartbreaking for everyone, and it is kind of an intimidation tactic for Turkey for showing this. If you speak about that sort of issues, this is the consequences for you. You may be arrested. You may be sent to jail, etc. And it is quite alarming for us to see such cases like that. What is your evaluation for that?
Unfortunately, this is not something new. Like we know for a really long time, we have almost each year we have thousands of court cases, pretty much similar. That's insulting to presidents or etc. Like so, unfortunately, this is not new. But the problem is, yes, if you arrest someone for saying those things, maybe you will hear less criticism in public, but people will still have those feelings, still have those ideas about the government or the president or certain ministers. So this is not like the problem is that the thinking that arresting one or two is going to change their minds is actually uh, one thing that's proven wrong throughout the history, maybe millions of times, yet still tried each time with each politician all over again. Like when you this is not going to make people think like, okay, if they arrested someone who is criticizing the president, maybe the president is right, or maybe they have a point. Like they are going to say that, oh, he doesn't want to hear any kind of criticism, so we will just make sure that he doesn't have a proof of our criticism, but they will still talk about what they are feeling in. Maybe
Mhm.
not on social media, maybe they are not going to give an interview, but they will talk in WhatsApp groups, they will talk in between their friends. And I think like at this point, I know it has become the norm for Turkey to this kind of human rights violations, this kind of freedom of speech violations, but we should be actually we should be getting angrier more and more each time. Like we are talking about Instagram, but we are not talking about Roblox enough. We are not talking about the Wattpad. Like Wattpad is basically where the youth discovers or develops their creativity right now. Like in late 2000s or early 2010s, it was Tumblr. Now
Yes.
it's basically Wattpad. And now they took away their creative space. Like this was the place where teens were feeling safe about writing whatever they want and actually having a creative communication about their creative output. Now it's gone. Same with Roblox. Like, okay, Roblox has, as a company, has some really problematic practices, like in-game payments are a serious issue. There is a issue of almost zero moderation. Like everyone can do everything they want. But at the same time, this is a huge creative space as well. Like a bunch of little kids can create their own games inside it, like learn how to develop games or game maps inside it. But when you are taking all of that stuff, you are actually making people even more feel like they are stuck in a box, and they're going to get even more angrier. Like this is not going to protect the children or protect the teens. They are going to become even more angrier and potentially even more radicalized, because when you are taking those creative spaces, you are going to you are pushing them in some much more dangerous areas.
Well, speaking of the dangerous things, actually, now we can see the impact of the extremist right wing movement, the wave in Turkey as well, because what happened after the Britain riots, all the racist attacks. Now it's like spreading all the Europe, not only Europe, now Turkey as well, because we have an example in Eskişehir. Unfortunately, there was a case that 18 years old young boy stabbed many people in the mosque, around the mosque, and injured 5 people over there, and one is in the critical condition now. This is kind of would be literally and sincerely blame the social media about it, because after that incident, actually the Minister of Family and Social Services, Mahinur Özdemir Göktaş, she is now blaming the computer games, the online computer games, and now all the speculations is surrounding around actually the online gaming system, that they're planning to ban now some couple of games maybe, and blaming the social media. Is that really the reason? Is social media, or would that be maybe in a very different and severe stage, you believe?
Uh, I I'm a like serious gamer. Like I play a lot of video games and all kinds of video games. So I've been thinking about, since I saw the news and that's video blaming the video game situation. Like I've been thinking about if any of the major games I've played or seen has promoted extreme right wing politics or promoted neo Nazis. But no, no one is like, none of the games has that kind of politics. Actually, one of the most violent game series I played is called Wolfenstein, and basically you are hunting Nazis inside. So if we are going to blame right wing terrorism to video games, you have to find a really specific and actual physical evidence of that kind of game. But we know where we know where that kind of neo-Nazi right-wing politics is coming from. It's coming from the European and American extreme right-wing groups. It's coming from the politicians all around the world using that as a propaganda tool. Like we should keep in mind that, especially in the last couple of years, most of the right-wing politics in Turkey is basically the translation of extreme right-wing neo-Nazi rhetoric in Europe and US. we know we know the actors who played that role. We know what they are doing, what they've been doing for years. So while we have like exactly the people who copies and pastes same rhetoric, promotes same kind of extreme right-wing politics in Turkey, looking at video games is basically trying to save yourself from that, trying to like clean yourself from that sin. Like all of the politicians in Turkey, especially in the last couple of years, especially in the last year's general election, tried to pull Turkish politics as right-wing as possible. This is a fact, and we, as especially media, gave so much airtime to that kind of politicians. Now we have a neo-Nazi trying to copycat the New Zealander or Norwegian attacker in Turkey. Thankfully, we have somewhat strict gun laws, so he couldn't get a semi-automatic weapon like the Americans did. But it's still a fact that like you can't play video games or any of the internet platform for that. We know who's actually pushing them into that direction.
Maybe we can, because I've seen, according to Mediascope, one of the good news outlet, actually, they reached out the file and which actors actually he influenced, and one is Anders Behring Breivik, the other is Brenton Tarrant, other one is Stephen Paddock, and Timothy McVeigh. So one is from Norwegian. He is a very extremist right-wing person who actually attempted to a terrorist attack. One is American, and he pulled the gun, automatic gun, and killed 40 people, actually injured more than 60 people. So when we see those examples, it's actually influenced by the ideology. It doesn't mean that influenced by the social media, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, like we know how those ideologies actually brewing and growing on social media. Like there are so many researches done on that, and actually after the I forgot the name, just to double check so I don't. So Brenton Tarrant, the New Zealander attacker.
Yeah.
After his attack, there was actually a global movement to make sure that we are doing our best both on the government and private companies side to control the extreme right-wing, racist, transphobic, homophobic rhetoric and politics online. But Turkey was never a part of that.
No.
We never did anything. And funnily, if we are going to look at who is the number one promoter of the extreme right-wing politics on social media, on social platforms, it's obviously Elon Musk and Twitter. But we are not seeing anyone talking about maybe we should ban Twitter because it's promoting racist, fascist rhetoric all the time. The owner is basically talking about bunch of different stuff.
Well, he set a fire on the riots in Britain, actually, when he made a comment on that. And also even Keir Starmer, the president, the new prime minister of the Britain, he said, he urged Elon Musk through social media that you should stop messaging such text like that. So this is a huge problem.
Yeah, and unfortunately, instead of like looking at who are the real actors promoting the extreme right-wing politics, who are the people in Turkey, around the world, actually enabling these type of actions, we are looking at ways to ban even more unrelated stuff. Like video games is like, we've been discussing this since 2000s. Like video games doesn't do anything like that. we have hundreds of different research, bunch of data showing that there is no relationship between violence in youth or video games. Like, this is a really old, stale excuse.
And now we're coming to an end, and my last question, and please, I would like to warn my audience as well, if you have any questions, drop your questions to the chat box so we can discuss about it. But my last question will be how it is urging for seeing such incident in Turkey. Would that be kind of well, it seems like he planned this with an Eastern European individual, but we only know that. But at the same time, would that be worried about it? Is it very alarming? You think that this is kind of an organization and it will spread to Turkey, or this is kind of an individual attack and it won't be such a problem for Turkey, you think? Would that be would that be very influential for Turkey, you think, for the younger generation?
There's always that risk because, like I said, for the last couple of years, we like some of the politicians, some of the politic groups has been doing the groundwork for that. Like this, we should be doing something about this couple of years ago. We should have been doing something about it at least couple of years ago. Now we are at a position that anything is possible. Like there is no guess, like any kind of forecasting out of that won't be anything more than making a lucky guess, because there's that risk about being extra influential and making others to try to do similar things. There will be some different actors or different groups coming out of this. There's multiple scenarios we should be talking about right now, and at the same time, if we are going to want to solve that problem, if we want to make sure that this is not going to happen again, we should be I am quite open and direct about talking about that, but the politicians in Turkey should be more brave. Should be more brave about talking against extreme right-wing, extreme conservative politics. They shouldn't be doing that. We shouldn't hurt their feelings. We should be also open to discussing with them. We should be more respectful to them. No, this is what happens when you continue to give space to that kind of political arguments, that kind of political rhetoric. If we are not putting a hard stance against this kind of political ideas, this kind of radical rhetoric, this is inevitable. And I've been saying that for at least 2 years. And I really don't want to say I told you so in such a situation, but there were many people telling that, and they kept ignoring them. They kept not listening, not taking them seriously, and now they have to deal with this.
Well, we will see on the coming days whether it will be very influential for other individuals or the young generation, or would that be only one case that happened and maybe shut the door and move on. We will see. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mr. Sabancı. It was a pleasure to have you.
You're welcome, and thank you for inviting me.
And hopefully we will come across soon with other topics as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, Instagram and the other social media platforms always have been an issue for Turkey, especially for the authorities, and it is very against the freedom of speech, human rights violations and the human rights and etc. So hopefully it won't happen again, as we hoping for that, of course. Many speculations are surrounding now, but we will see what will happen next. Yes, on Friday we will come up with a new subject. Last Friday we couldn't manage it because of the time scheduling and the availability of the guests, but today we made it finally. So Friday we will definitely meet up with another subject. But meanwhile, please do not forget to subscribe my YouTube channel, liking my videos, share your thoughts with me. Your thoughts are very important for me, and I'm reading all of them and taking an account on it. But till then, I'm wishing you a wonderful week and see you on Friday. Bye bye.